we cleared out everything, and you're like, all right, it's skate time. And so we had friends over, and there we went. And so it was a lot of fun. And I just think of all those unique things over the years. Water skiing, that's another thing. There was none of us that could get up on the skis except for you. So you're an awesome mom.
Yes, and I am so thankful for you. One of the sweetest memories I have of you that I cherish is how that you will come over and just be there as a help when I'm laboring and having a baby. And then that first night you stay up pretty much all night with the new grandbaby so that we're able to get some sleep, and you just bring the baby in when it's time to eat, and then you take it back out, change its diaper, sing to it, and just care for it. And I know we just cherish the love and the tenderness that you have shown.
From Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Tuesday, September 28th. Yesterday we talked about Josh Duggar's day in court and how it was really disastrous. And we had some questions that came up in the comments, and we've learned a little bit more about what happened in court. So I kind of wanted to just break this down for you to give you a better understanding of what the judge said. So one of the biggest motions that we were talking about a lot were those statements that Josh Duggar made. Remember how I was telling you about how they kept saying that Josh said that he wanted to speak to an attorney, and then they had the search warrant and they snatched that phone out of his hands, and then, you know, he said that he needed an attorney and they didn't let him have an attorney, and he was violated. So violated. And I remember how I said that during the bond hearing, Mr. Gerald Faulkner told the court that Josh was not in custody and that he was free to leave at any time, and he wasn't preventing him from contacting his attorney. He was just there for his phone, and that Josh had spoken to him, but he got Mirandized, and he also provided information before they could even speak. And he sort of spilled out, like, are you here because someone downloaded CSAM? Yeah, that's what happened. So they apparently in court yesterday were really freaking out about those comments that Josh made to the investigators. Generally, if you're about to get in trouble for something and you've got federal investigators breathing down your neck, the last thing you should do is potentially cue them in that you might be involved in the crimes that they're there to investigate, or even mention the alleged crime before they even tell you what they're there to investigate. Kind of spells like guilty all over it. And I think Josh Duggar's attorneys understand how damning that statement was made by him. So apparently yesterday they spent a ton of time like fighting back and forth about how he was in custody. No, he wasn't in custody. He was in custody. He wasn't in custody. And I'm sure Justin Gelfand was using his huge words, using his big disturbing words to describe the astonishing violations of his constitutional rights, which happened to Josh. And that didn't work out. So what happened was they spent all this time fighting because of those statements that Josh made. It's funny though, because Josh also admitted to knowing about peer-to-peer networks. He also didn't necessarily answer questions about if he was around anyone that might have potentially downloaded stuff. There was a lot that he made in those statements that are very incriminating, but they were highly focused on that very one statement. It could be the crux of part of the case, right? Here's what the judge said. The judge said he did not agree. The judge apparently told Josh that you were not in custody. You were free to leave at any time. You were not prevented from contacting your attorney, and you didn't have to speak, but you did. These were all of the things that we talked about on this channel. Before this motion was ruled upon, we discussed that Josh was not in custody, that we agreed with the assessment by Gerald Faulkner that he was not in custody. And we agreed and we discussed that we felt like this was going to be a very big uphill battle for Josh because he was roaming around during this, search. He was bebopping around. He left, according to Gerald Faulkner, before they even finished the search warrant. He was not held in custody after he made those statements. He willingly signed the waiver of rights. So I think, and I've said this all along, is that I feel like Justin is walking into a case where his client made a lot of very fatal decisions. And I mean fatal by it's just going to destroy his ability or kill his chance at freedom. Because Josh made so many critical errors in the investigation. He opened his mouth. He incriminated himself. He used the partition. He did, to prevent Anna from seeing Covenant Eyes, the passwords, downloading and backing up his phone and his laptop. There was just so many steps along the way where Josh made so many errors. He also has made a lot of errors in terms of knowing that he had a lot going on and knowing he was under serious scrutiny, rather than just being quiet and rather than just saying, I'm not going to speak to you until I have an attorney. Josh could not help himself. He literally could not help himself and he had to speak. It's no different in many ways to the hand situation. So they argued that Josh's hands were taken out of, because they argued that Josh was manipulated to have his hands photographed outside of counsel, right? They said Josh was left, counsel was gone, and then they asked to take the photographs. And again, Josh said yes. Josh grew up in a world where he was supposed to obey authority. But I also think that Josh grew up in a world where his parents have enabled his behavior. And he's never really had any consequences that have stuck from a criminal standpoint. He has always managed to get out of everything, and it's always been his mouth that's been able to do that. He was able to use his charm and his charisma on the early days of 19 Kids and Counting to make you think that he was the golden boy and sort of that kid next door and like the all-American kind of kid. He started a very short-lived career in lobbying within the government, and he used that very superficial charm to sort of talk his way out of anything. And then his parents have done a very good job throughout the years of cleaning up the messes that he makes to ensure that their reputation isn't ruined. So because Josh, even though he had consequences, like they sent him away and he had to like dig ditches, right? And he went to a rehab and he had to read his Bible. I mean, he's never had any real consequences. He's never had any like loss of really anything. I mean, he lost his career because he cheated on his wife and they found out about the stuff that he did to his sisters. But even with that case, there was no consequence because they said that the statute of limitations was over. They did a case through the juvenile court system and he was never convicted, even though he admitted to doing these crimes. And then his parents defended him by claiming that he made mistakes as a child, and so that doesn't say who he is today, right? And so when it came to cheating on Anna, it wasn't that Josh had a problem, it was that Josh had an addiction and he couldn't help himself. So there was never any level of like accountability. It was like he can't help himself, it's an addiction, he's sick, right? Well, this is one time in Josh's life that he can't talk his way out of it. And it's actually the time in his life where talking too much got him in trouble. I'm not angry at Josh for talking. I feel like Josh talking was one of the best things he could have done in this case and one of the best ways this case is going to go all the way, and he's going to end up in jail, in prison for a very long time. But I wonder sometimes, had he had the proper boundaries and consequences from when he was a child, if things would turn out differently. Would he have escalated into a situation where he was doing the things that he was doing? Some people say that he's just sick and he's an addict, and I don't think that's true. I think he has like a case of a father who is very wealthy that's paid for Josh to get out of stuff. I feel like Josh is also very narcissistic and maybe a little bit sociopathic and doesn't have really the capability to think about anyone but himself. And I think he's so arrogant that he believes that he has the ability to get out of everything. And because until now, in his entire life, there's never been serious consequences, I don't think he understood what he was doing and how it was going to kick him in the butt. And now he has an attorney that has to clean up that arrogance, and it isn't working. Because 4 of the motions to dismiss and to suppress were denied. There's one that still has to be ruled on, and a lot of you guys were asking me questions about that, and I don't know if they're going to have another hearing for this. I don't know if the judge wanted to take this into consideration and think about it, but I will say that the judge in their notes yesterday did state that a formal order will be made. And in that order, there could be an answer to the motion 37. So the motion that was under 37 was the motion to suppress all of the evidence from the search warrant. And the search warrant was in regards to how they obtained the search warrant, and did Gerald Faulkner mislead the court, and did the judge get misled, and that kind of stuff. I don't expect it to go into Josh's way. I think it's going to get denied too, but I don't know why they haven't ruled on that yet. The judges in these cases do not have to rule on the day of the hearing. And a lot of times they don't. They sometimes will take things into consideration and say, okay, I'm going to think about it. I need a little bit more information. I need to sort of read everything and digest, and then they will rule. What was unique yesterday is that they ruled 4 on 4 denials in a row, which tells me that the judge is fed up, the judge is annoyed, the judge feels like this is a waste of time, that he's wasted the court's time, the government feels like he's wasted the court's time, and so I would expect another denial coming soon. But until then, that's what I have. Josh's big mouth and his arrogance was the nail that was in the coffin, and it's why Justin Gelfand, in so many ways, is not going to be able to win this case. All right, you guys, tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye.